Although both of these devices here have Pro in the name, today we're going to be discussing which one is more Pro for you. But before we get started, if we are new to one another, my name is Jamie, and I'm going to let you in a little staple of this channel, and it's that my audio sucks. And I try, honestly, I do. I've tried editing techniques, I've tried different microphones, as well as soundproofing. But today we're running a little bit of an experiment. We have 3 microphones going on at the same time. So in the lower left-hand corner, you're going to see either mic 1, 2, or 3. And these mics are an overhead mic from Rode, NTG3, I believe. We have the Rode Wireless Go 2s that's lapelled right on top of me. I don't like that look, but we're giving it a try, as well as a Sony microphone that's right on the camera itself. So all I need from you is just let me know down in the comments which one sounds better as we switch between the 3 different microphones. And to keep it fair and unbiased, I won't say which microphone it is, but if you do want to know, just message me on Instagram or Twitter, and we could have a conversation there, as well as the comments down below. But let's go ahead and get started. And of course, with the M2 iPad Pro with a 12.9-inch display, as well as the Surface Pro 9 with a 13-inch display. Both of these devices here were released around the last week of October, so just about the same time. So if you are in the market for a 2-in-1, I'll say right off the bat, neither of these devices will disappoint. I've had the privilege of using them both for about a month now, and they are great. Ultimately, it really comes down to which one is right for you, and I think the most obvious place to start is with the operating system, because for some, that's going to be the deciding factor right off the bat. Now, I was traveling for around 2 weeks. The Surface Pro 9 was my most used device. The reason behind that is that I could count on it to get my work complete. There are no restrictions, and Windows 11 runs so smoothly on this device. You're able to download third-party applications that I need for my day-to-day work, such as downloading IDEs like VS Code, as well as IntelliJ, and running virtual machines like Linux, and it just runs so smoothly on Windows 11 that you simply just cannot do any of those things on an iPad. Speaking of iPad, we'll start gushing over the Surface Pro 9 for just a moment so we can discuss the iPad Pro and iPadOS 16. Now, unfortunately, a lot of the things I just mentioned, such as running compiling code, running virtual machines, and downloading third-party applications, simply can't happen on the iPad. You're limited to just the applications that are found on the App Store itself. And this is where normally I'd also talk about the limitation of having multiple windows open, but thankfully, Apple has addressed that with iPadOS 16 and Stage Manager. Of course, they're going to do it in their own way, but it works, and it actually makes the iPad enjoyable once again to use. So much so that I barely took out my MacBook Pro in that 2-week period of time. And if 13 inches is just not enough for you, these guys are both able and capable of powering up to a 5K display. So that's pretty cool. Now, this talking point did take a bit, but I think this is the most crucial if you are trying to choose between the two. So I thought it was best to get it out of the way right from the get-go. Perhaps we should have started with price, but both of these devices come pretty close to one another in terms of what you get for your money. The Surface Pro 9 starts at $999 for 8 GB of RAM and an Intel processor, while the iPad Pro starts at $1099 for M2 unified memory and 128 GB of internal storage for both of these devices. So they're pretty equal. Of course, you could increase both the RAM and storage, and these guys can surpass over $2,000, and that's really expensive considering they're still just 2-in-1s, and at that point, perhaps you're better going off with a dedicated laptop. And although the iPad has an overall smaller display, it is substantially thinner than the Surface Pro 9. And that's because the iPad is fanless, while the Surface Pro 9 has a built-in fan. And that's because of, well, it's because of Intel. But what's also neat about the Surface Pro, it has a kickstand, so it's able to stay upright so you can view your content without needing to rely on a keyboard case or a folio case of any kind. So that's super cool. Another important thing to know is that even though they start off at 128 GB, the Surface Pro 9 is upgradable on its own. So that's super neat if you want to do that down the road. However, unfortunately, with the iPad, what you get is what you get through the longevity of its lifespan. So certainly keep that in mind, because neither of these two devices become adequate 2-in-1s without their not included keyboard cases, and they're quite expensive, especially on the Apple side. For the Magic Keyboard, it's $349, while the Surface Signature keyboard is $289, but it does include the Slim Pen too. So if note-taking and creativity is important to you on an iPad, The Apple Pencil Gen 2 is an additional $129. So even though the tablets themselves are comparable in price, their accessories are not. So let's discuss lapability and how they feel and function on your lap. And as you've been able to see throughout the video, the iPad Pro is magnetically attached to the Magic Keyboard and transmits its data through its smart connectors and give it this floating design. This case is absolutely heavier, bulkier, but it also protects the back of the iPad. While the Surface Pro has pin connectors at the bottom, it's much slimmer. Neither need charging or Bluetooth pairing. Its Alcantara fabric is quite nice and not as delicate as I once perceived. Now, although the iPad has this floating element, the Surface has this kickstand that you can use to create a wide range of viewing angles. As for the keys, they're both pleasant and backlit. The Surface keyboard has a function row, so you can turn this feature on or off, amongst other things, like adjust the volume, while the Magic Keyboard does not. There is a little bit more flex in the keys of the Surface keyboard, but not in an exaggerated amount. Overall, I prefer the style of the Surface Pro because you're able to fold back the keyboard when you don't want to use it, or just attach it all together and just rely on the kickstand. That is really nice, where the Magic Keyboard, it's attached and you're not able to manipulate it in any other way aside from slight tilting. Alright, I mentioned bulkier, and it clearly shows when these two guys are side by side. It's one of the reasons why I was always so intimidated by the 12.9-inch iPad, as well as its Magic Keyboard case. The Surface Pro is definitely lighter, more versatile, and more portable. The only issues with it that I have is when I'm trying to use it as a laptop. So whether I'm trying to use it in my lap in bed or on the couch, it's definitely better and more intended for a surface. No pun intended there, but it's definitely better on a solid surface, such as a desk or a table. And we should also note that the Magic Keyboard just comes in two colors. You have the black, the white, while the Surface Pro comes in a variety of colors and matching accessories. So that's quite cute. As far as ports, the Magic Keyboard has one USB-C port that's only used for pass-through charging, and a Thunderbolt 4 USB-C port that you could use for fast data transfers of files. While the Surface Pro 9 has two Thunderbolt 4 ports that you could use for those data transfers, fast speeds, as well as charging, while also having its proprietary Surface connector that you could use to charge. So definitely, a win on the ports on the Surface line. Let's go ahead and move on to screens and displays. Now, both of these screens are very crisp, clear, and vibrant. Very happy with both. The Surface Pro 9 is a 450 nit display, while the iPad Pro has 600 nits natively, but it can go up to 1600 nits depending on what kind of content you are viewing. So that's nice. They both have their own versions of dynamic refresh rates that could go up to 120 hertz to preserve battery life. So it could be at 120, it could be lower, it could be at 60, depending on what you're doing with your machine. So that's cool there. They both have their own versions of face authentication. You have Windows Hello, and you have Face ID on the iPad. Both are really accurate, and they work at a really good distance, so you don't have to be up close to your device. You can be at a normal distance, and they're both very accurate and let you straight into your machine. And the Surface does this by using its 1080p webcam, which is in landscape orientation, how it should be. While the iPad Pro has a 12 megapixel front-facing camera in portrait mode. Although it does have center stage and it does a really good job of keeping you in the frame, it's just still super awkward to look off to the side when you're trying to hold a conversation or view content that's on your screen. They both have rear cameras, two on the iPad actually. But really, these days, any camera is good enough to take pictures, snapshots of documents so you can scan and upload them onto your machine. Other than that, I'm going to go ahead and just flash some specs onto the screen of the cameras and some other features that I have not been able to cover, but they're right here for your viewing pleasure, so you can just read them off because they might be important to you. So in summary, both of these devices are an absolute pleasure to use. I understand that it's redundant to have both, so I hope this was helpful in helping you decide which device meets your needs. And if you're just here for amusement and entertainment, thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of the video. Appreciate each and every one of you. Be sure to let me know which mic sounded better to you. Was it 1, 2, or 3? Leave that down in the comments. Reach out to me on Twitter or Instagram. While you're down in the comment section, be sure to hit that like button on your way out. Subscribe if you haven't. And until next time, see ya.